The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, race fans, coming at you live here. We are bringing you episode number 228. I had to take a look. I'm getting old like Kraus here, so I can't remember my numbers. But this episode brought to you by our friends at Impact Health Sharing. So if you're in the market, right, if you're looking for health insurance, maybe you have health insurance, you pay for it every month, and you're like, man, I'm paying way too much for something I simply do not use. Or maybe you're like, I'm sick of going to the specific doctor. You know, I don't want to have to be in network here. Or maybe you have employees, a big family, and you're just looking for options. How do I save money? How do I figure out how to keep some money in my pocket? Well, hit me up, 218-969-1380. We have a great product called Impact Health Sharing. Been able to save people a ton of money. You're looking at premiums right around $650 a month for an entire family. Above and beyond that, you know, you can, like I said, any doctor, and very, very low deductibles as well. So hit me up. I'll get you a no obligation quote, get you the information you need. So we'll start with Bert. Bert, you went over to Shawano this weekend. Of course, it rained out, but you guys had a big, big night anyway. Talk a little bit about that. I saw some pictures, and it was great to see that many people there kind of representing your family. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my grandpa, Paul Lehman, was inducted into the Shawano Speedway Hall of Fame. He was the president of the Shawano County Fair Board he was a member of the Fair Board from the early 1940s until 1982. He retired at the age of 87. And he was president for the last 17 of those years. And so he was part of the board when stock car racing started at Shawano Speedway. And, you know, what I've heard from other people is he was very instrumental in helping nurture stock car racing in the early days. So I can thank him. I can probably thank him for my interest in stock car racing, because I'm sure that's why I went to the races originally. And so, yeah, we had like 36 family members there. I mean, it rained in the morning, but the weather people, they said it's going to clear up by noon, and the sun was out, you know, a few clouds in the sky. And then, I don't know, 20 minutes before we were supposed to start racing, we got like a 15 to 20 minute shower. But you know how it is in the dirt world. You know, once you get that, it's hard to get the track back in. They did try to pack it in. I mean, they packed for probably half hour to an hour, and then another short shower came, and that put the kibosh on it. But during the rain delay, they still had the induction ceremony, so we got to experience that. And I was disappointed for my family, because I wanted to give them the best experience with seeing something that I love so much, and it didn't quite work out that way. But they all said they still had a good time, and some said that, you know, they'll have to come back and try to see the races again.
There you go. Bert Lehman getting the family over to the racetrack. So tip of the cap for that, and congratulations as well. Great honor there for the family. Bummer you guys didn't get to race, though.
And then Joe Vertigan did the interviewing for the Hall of Fame portion. And he's been on me for a couple of years about this. Well, I've been thinking about this for a while, too. And other people have been urging me to do it. So he put me on the spot and asked me if I was going to write a book about Shawano Speedway, history of Shawano Speedway. And I said yes. So I guess I'm committed now.
Nice. Is he going to co-author it with you, or is it you going to do it alone?
I'm going to do it by myself.
Bert Lehman gonna get a new book about Shawano. That's gonna be pretty cool. I tell you what, I know they have one up in Proctor for like the old Proctor Speedway, Duluth. I guess it would have been West Duluth, I think. They had a book called The Glory Days, and it had a handful of years. It's kind of pretty cool to have some of that nostalgia. So get on her. That shouldn't take you more than, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years or so to get that done.
Well, the thing is, I don't know how long it's going to take me. It could take me 5 years. I don't know, but I need to start interviewing some of the older drivers because, nobody can beat Father Time. So, got to interview them before,
Yeah. I don't know what you know. I don't know why you got to even go there. So we'll leave that one alone. Coach Kraus, holy shit there, guy. You finished a race? Like you actually congratulations, Jeff Kraus, on finishing your first feature of the 2024 season.
You sound like the announcer at Viking Speedway who he came in my trailer afterward. I sent you guys a picture and my dad roasted him. He's like, you really got to keep telling us that? Do you really got to keep telling us you haven't finished the feature? And then he goes, we are the all-time winningest Superstock team in Viking Speedway history, but you got to keep roasting us about that? So, no, hey, it is what it is. Even a 20-lap feature even made it. So, car was garbage, ran really good, though. So we're going to officially making the switch to turbine chassis this week. We're in the process of changing that over. So we're going to whip that baby out, see if we can't get that thing working and do some more racing.
Well, I tell you what, baby steps. I know you won a lot of races there, but baby steps. I mean, it was funny. I watched that race. I'm like, we got to see if Kraus finishes, and it was like I was giving the boys play-by-play right on the group chat, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And you got together with what was it, Russell Castriba? You guys got together, and then like he kind of woed up, and both of you kind of slowed up, and next thing you know, you're straight away behind the whole pack. I'm like, oh God, he's gonna pull in again. This ain't good. He's gonna pull in again. And you stayed out there, caught a guy, passed him. What did you get, 6th in that deal or whatever?
Ended up 6th, yeah.
Yep. So baby steps. Next week we work on a podium, kind of cut that in half, and then we start looking at wins. So congrats on finally finishing a feature race. So speaking of some great moments here this past weekend, there's 2 of them right there. Let's talk about our top moments and stories of the week. This brought to you by the folks at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. Of course, Chris and the gang, the proud sponsor of the #1 series that got underway this weekend, the Fastlane Superstock Series. They do powder coating, they do fabricating, they build the Galloper chassis. They actually sell parts at a ton of different racetracks. They can mail order parts. I mean, they do it all. Great group of guys up there. If you need parts, you need anything racing, give them a call at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. So let's start with that, boys. Number 5. Let's start with the Fastlane Superstock Series, which finally got underway. Of course, night 1 at Ashland, they had a big day planned. That rained out a couple weeks ago. Night number 1 turned over to Rice Lake Speedway. That got postponed. Finally get underway Friday night with the Dave Shackleton Memorial at the Red Cedar Speedway in Menominee, Wisconsin. Saturday, they went up to the ABC Raceway in Ashland. Sunday, they went to Proctor, one of my favorite tracks in all of dirt track racing, the Proctor Speedway. The best race of the night, though, in my opinion, watching these 3 features, what a battle between Dylan Nelson and DJ Keeler for about 15 laps or so of the feature at the ABC Raceway in Ashland. Unbelievable. Guys, it took forever to get that race started. I think it was dang near a half hour. They had like 2 laps, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, right? They're actually talking like, are we going to time limit this thing? And then once they got going well, and those 2 put on a hell of a show there. A great race up in Ashland. And one thing I want to give them a shout out. So I don't know if you guys know, they were going to have that 4,000 to win show couple weeks back, and it was supposed to be 700-800 to win. Well, they decided, even though they didn't have that show, they took a big chunk of that money and they actually put it on the feature for this past Saturday as well. So that way they didn't go with their typical 700 or 800 to win. They threw the money on top of that, and I think it was $3,000 to win for the winner. So that was the best one. But Dexton Cook won night number 1. at Menominee, the Shackleton Memorial. That paid what, $29.74 to win. And then Sunday went to Terrence Spacek, your point leader, Jordan Hinkemeyer. Now we know Jordo. I ran an affordable. You ran an affordable for years, and I remember when he was just a little shit. Now compared to us, he's still a little shit, right? But he's leading the points. Had a hell of a weekend, a third, fourth, and second. So a great weekend for Jordo, guys. I know, Bert, you probably didn't watch the Super Stocks. You're a hater. We still love you, but
I watched the Ashland feature.
Attaboy. All right, so go ahead, guys. What else stuck out to you this past weekend from the Fastlane Super Stock Series, other than, of course, Nelson versus Keeler?
Well, one thing I saw on the chat, did Jesse Radetsky not race at Menominee?
Yes, that is correct. And I don't know the whole story. Sources sent me some info, and they said, well, his car, I know he hurt his foot here a couple weeks ago, and that was in a cast. I think he broke his big toe. I'll be honest with you, right? I raced all of Speed Weeks in Florida with a broken toe, so I don't know. The biggest race of the year at his track, money-wise, the Shackleton Memorial, and somebody told me that a couple weeks back or last week, he broke. So, Kraus, that bar behind the rear end, that angled bar to the Panhard bar mount? Sounds like he broke that off and the Panhard bar mount bent a little bit. And they looked at it and they said, well, we better bring that over to TRC to have that re-welded and make sure everything else is good. I'll be honest, I've fixed more shit than that between the heat and feature. In fact, we fixed a lot more shit than that between the heat and feature. Bert, that's a good question. And Kraus, I want your thoughts on him. One of the top, probably the top guy at the Red Cedar Speedway, the number one guy over the last several years, missing that big of a race on his home turf. Your thoughts?
Well, you better have a really, really, really good excuse. That'd be like Ryan Aho not racing Hibbing, or Jeff Krause racing Viking, or Dave Moss not being at Ogilvy for a $3,000 to win show. That's what that would be like. So I got no idea. If it, like you said, Ryan, if it's just that bar, like, how many times can we fix that? You know what I mean? I mean, you ripped your whole shock mount off at Viking one night, and my dad came to weld it up back up. I think you ended up getting a top 5 that weekend. It's like, come on, let's get this done there. So it's got to be a really good excuse. I mean, his champ pans and all his stuff, his brother makes all great products. You can't get a bar on the back of your car, weld it up. I'm just mad because it cost me a pick. We picked him to win. We don't even get that. So you better have a pretty good excuse not to be racing at your hometown track.
Bert, do you think maybe that's it? Do you think maybe he has a little animosity towards Krause? I raced against Krause. He probably is pissed off at him, I'm guessing.
Well, he probably has something against me too, because that was my pick also.
All right. So, hey, great job. In fact, I tell you what, great job, Jesse, for staying home and screwing these guys out of a pick. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the whole story. If it's just that deal, that seems pretty soft to me. Maybe it was a foot. Maybe he had other shit going on. I don't know. I was disappointed as a race fan not seeing the top guy at the Red Cedar Speedway at that race. But when I was looking at the pick'ems and you guys had him, I'm like, oh, that's all right. I mean, I'm okay with that. So that's a good question, Bert. Yeah, he was not there. Sounds like he's going to be ready to go here. I don't know if he's going to run any Super Stock Series stuff this weekend or maybe Menominee. I'm not sure what he has going on. Kraus, anything else stick out to you from the Super Stock Series?
Yeah, car count's down a little bit from, last year and the past years. And super counts have been super tough right now. And I don't get it. Ryan, I 100% don't get it. They're out of the 4 classes, the Street Stocks, the Mid-X, we want to go 5. Street Stocks, Midwest Mods, Supers, Mods, Lates. The Super Stock right now, I'm telling you right now, is the cheapest car out there. You get paid twice as much. They're super fun to drive. It's competitive class. Every race car has maintenance. People say, oh, there's more. You know what? Every car is maintenance. Body parts this, body parts that. So super interesting why some of these car counts are down. That was one thing that stuck out. Obviously, Tim Johnson was out there running. It was good to see him battling and thrashing with the boys. And, it's a little surprising. We talked about Keeler and Dylan Nelson were out front running side by side, and no one was catching them. They were actually pulling away from the field. So I thought, usually you get super stocks, you kind of get they're bunched together, and that's probably why we bend some tin, and because we're so competitive, but kind of a little bit spread out there. But it's always a fun series to watch. I tried watching. I'm pretty sure I watched all three of them. I tend to forget stuff these days, but it's a cool deal. And I know I've been talking with Dennis. Dennis has been trying to get me on that deal for a long time, and one of these years it's going to happen. And I know we've been talking to Dennis to possibly getting some of the series over this way, and that might be happening. So just fun to watch. And like you said, when you're a super stock guy, unlike Bert, Bert's a non-bold picker and a non-super stock guy. So it's just fun to watch the supers and give them the limelight as well too, because they don't get much that. It's usually all the mods and late models, or even the B mods and the street stock tour. So it's good to get the supers a little limelight.
Yeah, for sure. And I got to give hats off to the tracks. I mean, the features were good at all three tracks. I mean, it's pretty racy. You had big movers. I mean, Kurt Myers came from 18th to 2nd there at Menominee, so there was definitely passing to be had. Of course, there was a lot of passing in Ashland side-by-side racing. Proctor was really good. Fan count was light. It's a Sunday. It is what it is. But overall, there was some really good racing. Sean McFadden quietly had a really good week. He's sitting in the top 5. He actually passed a ton of cars over the weekend. So really good racing this past weekend. Looking forward to next week for the Superstock Series to continue. Number 4, did Scott Bloomquist have the most memorable moment of the 2024 Dream? Let's talk about this for a minute, guys. So I want you to I kind of wrote down a couple notes. I'm sure you guys did as well. I mean, the biggest late model event of the weekend. And the fact is, if we had to put together our top 5 moments of the 2024 Dream, good, bad, or otherwise, what would our top 5 moments be? And I'll let you guys throw out a couple, and I got a couple here, and we'll see if we can maybe come up with 5. What is a Scott Bloomquist deal number 1? We'll have to see. Let's discuss that. So, Bert, what are a couple things that stuck out to you as being some top moments that happened, top storylines from this year's 30th annual Dream at Eldora?
Well, I have number 1, Tyler Erb. Basically, Tyler Erb changing Brandon Overton's engine. I will admit, I kind of viewed Tyler Erb as kind of the Cole Trickle from Days of Thunder, where he doesn't really work on his race car. He just races it. But I was totally wrong. I mean, it looked like Tyler Erb was in charge and in control of that engine change.
I tell you what, that sold him some T-shirts. Every Brandon Overton fan there was probably ordering turbo gear after that deal. I mean, let's face it, right? I'm a Pierce guy. I like RTJ. But if that happened, right, and those guys were off, could you ever see Bobby Pierce or RTJ going to change somebody's engine like that?
No,
there's no
really.
way. There's no way. So that was super cool. And not only did he change it, but from what I understand, and I could be totally wrong, but from what I understand, he kind of forced the issue, right?
Yeah.
Overton kind of sounded like, I don't think we have time. He didn't really want to do it. And I don't think he got his hands dirty. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't ever, but he wasn't working on it there. And Turbo was like, what the hell are you talking about? Let's change this thing. I've changed motors, with my crew in between heat and features. They had plenty of time to do it. Surprising move. I mean, I tell you what, how much did that raise the stock in the eyes of dirt fans for Turbo Tyler Erb?
Well, I mean, for me personally, it put him under a new light in my eyes. I mean, actually, over the last year, the more things that I hear about Turbo doing, the more I like them. I mean, after that incident at Cedar Lake with Pierce, he's just a troublemaker, that sort of thing. But he's really starting to grow on me.
Yeah, I have to agree. Could we see him in an Infinity by Wells maybe over the next year? Maybe do you think there might be something brewing? Coach Kraus, your thought on the Turbo deal here?
Yeah, just it's a cool deal. They had the night off, so why not do something? A lot of the drivers were hanging out down on the pit road anyway, checking out tires and watching the racing, and doing what a driver should be doing too. And I got a Turbo shirt. I bought one 2 minutes after he yard sailed Bob Pierce rolling down the turns 1 and 2 at Cedar. So he's a good dude. He's a younger guy. It's the sport needs that. You know what I mean? They just do. And he's kind of a hard head and a hard knocks kind of guy, and kind of Burton, I think he is kind of like a roughneck, kind of a get your hands dirty and get in there. He's not a sunglasses guy and shorts and flip flops and one of those guys at the racetrack. So he's a kind of a hard nosed guy.
For sure. What else stuck out here from the Dream? I got a few things, but I'll let you guys kind of take the limelight here first. What else stuck out to you from this year's running?
Do you got any more, Bert? Because I got about a list. I got like 30 things that went wrong at the Dream. So
I have a few more.
Go ahead, Bert.
All right. I also have Huddy in the Rumley car had a pretty good showing, and I don't know if this is any coincidence or just, the work or the Dream kind of coincided with Flow Racing doing the article about Kyle Larson stating he's not sure when he's going to get back into a dirt late model. Is there something brewing between Huddy and Rumley for more than just a few races a year? I didn't read the article about Larson, but I just thought that was interesting, that the timing of that.
We'll touch on that in a minute. I got a fan question, especially in regards to that one. So what do you got next?
Just a Superman domination in the feature. I've been to the World 100 when Superman has dominated like that. And actually, when I was to the World several years ago, when he dominated like this during the prelims, I was hoping that he had to start a little bit deeper in the field just so you could watch a little bit of passing, because he started in the front, there wasn't going to be any passing, and that's what happened in this last race. I have Bloomquist on there, but we'll talk about that. And then also the new format where they split the fields and only half the field race each night. And I agree with Coach on this one. I don't like it.
Coach, go ahead and rant on this one, because I totally disagree with both of you. But so Bert didn't like it. Coach, go ahead. Your thoughts on this?
The only thing with that format deal, I get you want to raise the money. You're cheating the fans because not all the guys are racing against each other. But from a driver standpoint, okay, you don't have to race all 3 nights. And it's one big thing we need to get into is saving money for these guys. You know what I mean? Saving tires, saving fuels. A lot of those drivers thought it was cool to hang out. I didn't like the format. But from a driver standpoint, you can say, hey, I don't have to race here all 3 nights. Probably saved guys $1,000 a night by not racing. Plus, they paid better. So I get that. But, when I'm watching that race like Bert is, we're a fan. And I didn't, I wasn't too impressed with the format.
Well, and that's the reason I didn't like it, is because from a fan's perspective, you don't get to see all the drivers race all 3 nights. Now, I go to the World 100 every year. So let's just say I was at the Dream under this format. I drive 8 hours and I only get to see, I don't get to see Jonathan Davenport race 3 nights. So I only get to see him race 2. I only get to see the drivers race 2 nights rather than 3 nights. And I'm sure they didn't drop the price of the admission ticket.
Well, I'm going to throw a thorn in the side of both of you here. All right. I'm going to disagree. I got 3 points that completely disagree with everything you guys just said. Number one is this: pretty much almost every other late model show all year long, 49 cars, good car count. So you still had a very good group of cars each night. Number two is both nights of prelims, both nights were a million times more entertaining, and it wasn't even close than Saturday. Saturday sucked. It was absolutely terrible, bone dry shithole. Nobody wanted to watch that garbage unless you're a JD fan. It was absolutely awful. And the fact is, those nights, the most entertaining night, in my opinion, of the 3 nights was night number 1. It wasn't even close. That was the best racing all 3 nights. That track, specifically that track, maybe another track, but that track, if you ran all of those cars 3 nights, that place would have been a complete dumpster fire 100 times worse than it was because their track prep crew there is awful. It is just lucky that they didn't race Wednesday, that they rained out that flow deal, because it would have been a complete shithole every single night because it is so bone dry. The heat races were a joke every night. They were just straight marbles. They're unwatchable. So sometimes too many cars, the track, you better have a dang good track prep crew there to keep on top of it. And I just got to be honest, I don't think they do. Maybe at a better prepared racetrack, I would agree with you and be like, all right, you put it at a track where it's not going to just slick over and be garbage. Yes. But when that track is as bad as it is, slippery, if they would have ran 100 cars all 3 nights, there's no way it would have been. And the features would have been so freaking bad, it wouldn't even have been funny, in my opinion. So that's just it. And, like I said, 49 cars, that's a good show pretty much all year long. And I know Kraus had commented, boy, the car counts are down, right? Didn't you say, Kraus, the car counts are down at the Dream?
They were down, and I think the quality was down too, to tell you the truth. I don't, you go to 49 cars, Ryan, you just nip the quality right in half.
They were up. The car counts were up.
A little bit.
So over the last 10 years here, the only one time at the Dream where they had more cars than that was when it was coincided with the million, of course, because it was a million. They had 114. Other than that, it was 95 all the way down to 73 cars. So this year they had 101 cars. So the car count was actually higher than it's been in the last decade, except for the year that they had the Dream. So, I don't know. So, Bert, one of you guys, Bert, explain to the folks, how did the format work last year? How did they do it last year? And how did they, because there's people probably listening going, didn't get to see it. I don't know how the format changed. So this year, I'll say how it was this year. This year, they took 101 cars. They split it down the middle, right? Random draw. Half ran on Thursday, half ran on Friday. They ran 4 heats, 1 or 2, I think 2 B mains and an A main, 50 lap A main, which is crazy for a prelim night, but it's still 25 grand to win. They ran 2 prelim nights. Then it was all points matter to get locked into Saturday. And then on Saturday, they ran 6 heats based on their points from their prelim night, and then the B mains and the A main. So each driver raced 2 shows, and kind of like they do at the Gateway Dirt National. Similar type format is what they do there. So how did they do it last year, Bert? What was the format last year?
Well, last year they split the field in 2 each of the prelim nights. So for qualifying, you qualified in either Group 1 or Group 2, and then the heat races were Group 1 and Group 2, and then they ran twin, I think it was 25 lap features for 12,500 to win, I think, last year. So all the drivers raced both nights, both prelim nights, and then on Saturday night, so the racing on Thursday, Friday determine your starting spots in the heat races on Saturday. They had 6 heat races, and then, the normal way that they do it.
Yeah, so they still split the field, but you got to see all the cars both nights. And I don't remember, it's a long time ago. Hell, I don't remember what I had for freaking breakfast, but they only ran 2 nights then, right? It wasn't, was it 2 nights, not 3?
Well, I don't know. I can't remember if they had the flow deal on Wednesday night or not. But I mean, for the World or for the Dream, it was only 2 nights.
Yeah. So prelims 1 night and features the next night.
No, prelims 2 nights and then.
Oh, 2 nights of prelims. So they still had 2 nights of prelims. Okay. So I know you guys, and this is kind of a torn because some of the drivers, like Carl said, were like all for it. Some of the drivers, like Davenport said, if I'm only going to race 2 nights, why not just eliminate 1? Don't want to be here all freaking week. But, you got our thoughts. Let us know. As a fan, punch the buttons. Did you like the format better last year? Did you like it better this year? Let us know what you think. I mean, you see that me, Kraus, and Bert don't agree on this one, but that's okay. That's what it's all about.
Well, and Overton actually made a comment too when they interviewed him about, he wasn't real happy with the fact that he had to be there on Tuesday, you come in on Tuesday, so you're there from Tuesday through Saturday, and you're only racing. Well, they're supposed to race 3 nights. Every driver would have raced 3 nights if Wednesday night wouldn't have gotten rained out.
That parking day is a bunch of bullshit. Barry does that deal. He did that for the Mississippi Thunder deal. That having to get there Tuesday to claim your parking spot, that deal's bullshit, right? Like, in what universe is that a thing? People, for the entirety of racing, you get there on race day. That's what you do. There's no reason to have to get there. If you want to get there the day before, great, but you should not have to get there the day before. And I got to be honest, I'm glad that flow deal rained out. I think that, I don't know, that's a whole nother topic for another time. I don't think they needed to add that in there.
I know one of your complaints was the number of laps on the track, but under the old format, it wouldn't have been that many more laps because you're running twin 25 lap features each night, and they ran a 50 lap feature each night this year. So, if you combine the 2 features from last year, you equal 50 laps that were run this year.
Yeah, but it's more like Kraus said, it's 2 more shows for the drivers. For running 2 nights of prelims is just dumb, right? You should not have to race 2 nights of prelim to get to the big one. I like how they did it. If they do it, just do it all on one night then and call it a day. Don't have 2 nights.
The first ever World 100. I mean, they used to do the word. I don't know if they did the Dream this way, but it was just a Friday, Saturday night show. Friday night was 2 rounds of time trials, and those who didn't qualify in the top 120 got to race in non-qualifier races, and then all the racing action was on Saturday.
Yeah, and we've seen videos of that blacked up, slicked up. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you guys, I can get behind what you're saying. They just got to have a better track prep crew that actually gets some moisture down in that place, because if it's a straight marble fest, she can be a dumpster fire with too many laps. What else stuck out to you from this weekend? I got a couple things that we haven't touched on quite yet.
Well, bringing up the format deal, all the drivers complain about the invert. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6. Why don't you throw a passing point in there after the invert deal? You know what I mean? And give these guys a chance. If say you do throw a 6 and you get up to a 4th or a 3rd, it's basically like getting 1st or 2nd. You know what I mean? I'd like to see something like that instead of the straight up deal at some of these shows. You can be in a 6th. You can be in like the 6th heat and get 3rd, and you still got to start 18th or whatever it is, regardless. You know what I mean? I'd like to see, hey, let's take these top 18, the passing points in the heats or something. You know what I mean? You can throw something else in there. So the only thing I got, Ryan, the reason why the track was crap, because their track conditioner broke. Did you see that? The hitch, because it's rusted, because they don't use it. It's sitting in the weeds and the thing rusted. So the track conditioner broke. That was an issue. There's still tracks in the area running against that show, Ryan. Satterley won on Saturday, like a $10,000 or $15,000 race out there, and I saw they had like some 30-some cars. And I know there were some other tracks running. And it's not like Pennsylvania, Eldora's that far. So I think that's an issue too, is, some of these sanctioned tracks got to get on board and let these guys, some don't want to go, but tough crap. You know what I mean? It's the dream. Get your butt over there. We didn't win the 50-50, which is complete hogwash.
Sure.
That was
that's a donkey award to Curtis for getting the wrong tickets. I'm just saying.
That's 100% a donkey award. We're sitting there waiting for the drawing. What's going on? Kent and I are in my trailer. Well, we're waiting for the draw. I'm like, we were watching the race, and I'm like, just throw the checkered so we can get the 50-50 over, because the race was awful. I'm like, hey, I
already had my money spent. I don't know what happened there. It's bullshit.
and then the last one, Ryan and Bert, you know what? That's 200 lap racers. You throw in Mississippi Thunder and then the Dream that do not need to be 100 laps. It does not make better racing. Let's get 50 laps and get this thing over with. Let these drivers get after it. Let them wheel. Those guys are riding around. You know what I mean? That's not race. This isn't NASCAR crap. You know what I mean? Let's sit there and ride around. This is dirt race, and let's get after it and get on the way. So that we covered pretty much everything else. But you know what? Overall, I think everybody's just kind of a little bit disappointed that you didn't have 3 guys coming for the checkered and sliders and all that. And this Davenport, that it was that thing was ridiculous. There wasn't anybody catching them, and the flow crews zoomed in on one car the whole time, so you can't see what's going on in the rest of the field anyway. So, but overall, it was probably in the C range to a C minus range for the whole event.
If it was only night one, I would have put it at an A. Night one was actually pretty entertaining. Then it went downhill from there. Speaking of night one, Bobby Pierce, his pit crew, kind of dropping the ball again, right? So in case you didn't watch it, right? Night number one of the prelims, Bobby Pierce is gone, checked out, 50-lap feature, it's over. He's winning 25 grand. He is absolutely not going to lose that race. Well, next thing you know, he pulls in engine issues. It's like, oh shit, he hoofed an engine. What happened? Well, the pit crew left the cover on the oil cooler, and it cooked the engine, right? So it basically, it was not, if it would have been 30 laps, he would have made it, not 50. 50 laps. The pit crew knew about it, which I'm assuming Dad knew, and they just opted, let's not tell him. It is what it is. We're going to try to go out and win a deal. And not only did he lose 25K, but he also lost, whatever it's going to cost to fix that. That's several $1,000s. And let's not forget, a couple years back, right? He won. He was starting front row on Saturday night based on what he did in the prelims. And his pit guy went out, got shitty drunk, and decided to go tear around on a four-wheeler and got himself in trouble, got into an altercation with a track worker, and literally got Bobby Pierce booted for the entire weekend. So is he going to get to the point where he's like, all right, I'm not even bringing a pit crew, right? I'm not bringing a pit crew to Eldora. We're going to do this shit ourselves, because that's twice that the pit crew kind of cost him.
Well, I mean, you need a pit crew to get work done, but I mean, you have to have people that you really trust. I mean, the oil cooler, I mean, I guess mistakes happen, but you just can't have mistakes like that happen.
That's a costly one. I mean, let's face it. At the end of the day, between winnings and cost to fix the engine, that has to be $35,000 to $45,000 worth of oops right there. That's a bad deal. The curse is over, by the way. So back in 2001, Donnie Moran won the million. Moran has not won an A-main at Eldora since 2001. Devin Moran goes out, wins the prelim on night number 2. Ends the curse. It's a $25,000. It wasn't the dream, wasn't the world, but it was a $25,000 payday. So pretty cool seeing Devin Moran park it in victory lane. But I don't know. Does anything compare, right? I mean, Scott Bloomquist will always be a story. Always. It's Scott Bloomquist, right? Chonga said he is the GOAT of dirt late model. I say Billy Moyer. Chonga says, I'm just kidding. Chonga's totally a Moyer guy. But in the heat race there on Saturday night, he's in a transfer spot battling for third. Shannon Babb throws a slider and crosses him over. Contact's made, and there goes the old voodoo child upside down in a heap, right? That thing is a pile. Turns out it wasn't even his car. You when you guys saw that, what went through your mind? Is it over? Is he going to be back? I mean, then they had the little interview with him after. Your thoughts on the whole what happened there, and your thoughts on the deal with Scott Bloomquist?
Well, I mean, watching the replay, I mean, it definitely looks like Shannon Babb came down on him and sent him for a ride. I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but Shannon Babb posted on Facebook that it was just hard racing, and he has the utmost respect for Bloomquist and whatnot. So I mean, the accident was bad. I didn't necessarily, after seeing the accident, I didn't necessarily think it was over for Bloomquist. But after watching that interview that he had, and finding out that the car wasn't his, the engine wasn't his, basically nothing was his. I'm not saying you're never going to see him race again. Word is he's trying to get out there this coming weekend yet. But I mean, as far as the legend and, winning races, and I think we all kind of knew the light was dim, but I think the light is almost completely out.
For sure. So, Coach Kraus, I mean, is that a donkey award? I mean, does Shannon Babb get a donkey award for not breathing off the pedal, hitting the brakes, I mean, was that avoidable? What's your thoughts there? Whose fault was that?
Yeah. Well, you didn't ever saw us. The back straightaway there is a little curved. You know what I mean? And it gets real tight coming out there. My first thing was there must be some bad blood here because it looked like Bab punted him. I'm like, he turned into him and punted him. Bab used to be a Team Zero guy. You know what I mean? He probably still has a car. And I know he runs that every once in a while. So that was my first thought. And then I've met Shannon Bab a couple times, and he's a pretty super nice guy, stand-up guy. I'm like, I don't think he'd do that to Bloomquist. And Bloomquist wasn't too happy in his first interview. And obviously I saw that too with Bab, and I'm sure he felt bad about it. Like I said, I'm going to believe him when he says it was a racing deal. Like I said, you see something like that, and who knows? He's looking ahead and watching turn 3. There's so much stuff going on there, and you're going so fast at Eldora. And my first thought was, boy, it looked like he punted him. But I'm going to give the benefit out there to Shannon Babbitt and say it was a racing deal.
Yeah, it's 100% Bert's fault anyway, because he picked him to actually make the show. He was in a transfer spot, and there he is upside down in a heap. So, Bert, what the hell, guy? All right, what the hell? All right, number 3. River City Speedway, Grand Forks, North Dakota. Dustin Strand steals the show at the World of Outlaw race with the NLRA late models again. This is the second time he's had a miraculous last corner haymaker pass for the win, and this week it was on Shane Edgington. Guys, it downpoured right before the sprint car feature. It was sunny, downpouring. The place was like super glue. Kraus, you've been there. When that place is sticky, it is wide freaking open. And the sprint car race was good. I mean, they were hauling the mail. But that late model race, Strand led and Edgington rolled by him. He got by him. I'm like, shit, it's over, because it was pretty narrow, pretty tough to pass. And then he found a line getting into 3, crossing over, and he about ran him over coming to the white. Literally looked like he was going to run him right over. And then literally coming to the checkered, he diamonded it, got underneath him, beat him to the line. Weird camera angle there, by the way. But wow, what a finish. Dustin Strand, hell of a job. Your thoughts on the race, whether it's the World of Outlaw Sprints or the class of the field that night, the NLRA late models up at the River City Speedway?
Well, first of all, I just got to say that's kind of the way my picking has gone this year, because I had picked Pierce the first night, and he cooks a motor because he didn't take the oil cover off. And I had Edgington in this race, and he loses it at the very end. So, I mean, that's 4 points I could have had.
Wow. Yeah, all right. So keep on. We're going to find out who Bert's screwing over this week a little bit later on. So another thing that happened in this one, Layla Eisenschenk. So are they twins? Her and Amelia, are they twin? They're sisters, but it's Donnie Schatz's nieces is what it is. And she was running second. She started on the front row, and holy shit, did she tumble. She buried it in there and didn't really even seem to hook a run or nothing. It just hooked traction and just took off in 1 and 2. Sounds like she had a concussion. So, best wishes to her. Hope she gets healed up. But your thoughts on that finish? I mean, Dustin Strand's put on some pretty good shows over there in Grand Forks.
That was 100% home cooking, Ryan. I pulled up the replay, and I saw him going down the back straightaway on the last lap. And did you see what he did getting into 3? And I'm like, what are you doing, Strand? You know what I mean? And then he went in, and I'm like, oh boy, this is what he's doing, because it's so tight coming off of 4 there, and you can drift. And he's like, he had to wait for Edgington to drift and time that exactly right to come down through. So 100% home field advantage. And Edgington runs there too, but he doesn't have as many laps as Strand does around that place. So kudos to the Mr. Strand for giving that was a straight home cooking job. And I was like, what in the world? He's not going to get him. And sure enough, he got it done.
Yeah, that was good. A surprise, right? Mike Gresseth, right? 3-time defending NLRA champion, misses another race at River City, another NLRA race. So I reached out and I'm like, dude, where were you? And 2 things. The late models traditionally have been kind of track packers for that show when the World of Outlaws come to town. He's like, I didn't really want anything to do with that. He said, but one thing that he's looking to do this year is You know, he's got the family, and they're going to spend a lot more time. Like, he's going to the Masters this week. They're going to do a lot of 2 and 3 day event weekends to where they can show up to the track, camp for the weekend, race a couple nights, and that's kind of what they're going to focus on. So looks like there's going to be a new champion in the NLRA late models this year. It will not be Gresseth repeating. Number 2, big finish at the Big O. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars went from River Cities over to Ogilvie, Minnesota Saturday night. Record crowd, great feature race, by the way. I was pretty skeptical after the heats. I'm like, oh boy, I don't know what this is going to turn out like. But the feature race was exciting. One of the best finishes of the weekend. Did you guys get a chance to watch the World of Outlaws at Ogilvie?
Yeah, I watched the condensed version of the feature, but yes, I did see it.
So Macedo takes a white flag in the lead. Carson Macedo, and in tow, Sheldon Hodenschild right behind him, Buddy Kofoid right there, Donnie Schatz right there. Literally, I don't know what the heck, that was kind of weird. So 4 of them right in a group, and last corner pass by Buggy Bobby, Sheldon Hodenschild with a great finish at the line to get it done. Great race. I mean, Bert, your thoughts on the race? I mean, I was pretty impressed with what they did at Ogilvie.
Yeah, it was a great race. You know, Sheldon's he's on a little bit of a hot streak right now. I was actually looking at the point standings, and even with his hot streak, he's still way back there. But I mean, I'll mention this now. Have you looked at the point standings for the World of Outlaws? Macedo's.
I have. Let's
save that.
Yeah, that's
okay.
We'll save that. We'll get there. We'll get there. Yep. So yeah, you're right. It's tight. But the number 1 story of the week, if you're a WISSOTA race fan, WISSOTA Late Model Structural Buildings, WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series showcased, in my opinion, the number 1 and number 2 WISSOTA Late Model drivers of 2024. This Tyler Peterson versus Cole Searing deal is legit, right? This is 100% worth the price of admission, seeing these 2 drivers go head to head. I'm so pumped that Cole Searing has made a decision to follow the Challenge Series. Tyler Peterson following the Challenge Series. Could it possibly get any better than this in 2024, guys? The battle between Tyler Peterson and Cole Searing in WISSOTA late models.
Well, it's definitely a good battle so far. I mean, seems like every time TPO takes a track, I mean, he's winning, or if he's not winning, he's right there challenging for the win. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of drivers following the series from like Wisconsin. So it'll be fun to watch these 2 battle for the championship.
For sure. Now, Kraus, did you get a chance to watch all 4 A-mains from the Challenge Series this past weekend?
I watched 3 of them. I did not see much of the race on Saturday.
Dude, that one was by far, of course, that's the one you miss, right? You're racing, I get it. But that was the race of the week. So Thursday night, they went to the KRA Speedway in Wilmer, Minnesota. And I got to be honest, I thought the track was pretty good. I heard people saying, it was dry, never took rubber, 40 laps. They were on the fence. Kraus, when's the last time that you went to Wilmer and you ran on the fence all the way around the track? That's never been. It's usually on the bottom, marbly, dirty. So it was fun to watch. Corey Krapser, rookie in the late models, probably should have won that race. I mean, he had the best car. One little miscue was all it took, and Cole Searing capitalized. It was over from that point forward. Now, Searing come off of 4 on that very next lap, did the same thing. He bobbled, but not enough for Krapser to get by. So Searing won night number 1. Then they had a doubleheader at the Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo, and the race was on, right? So TPO struggled. He got 5th on night number 1, not as good, but they actually had a great battle. Cole Searing, Tyler Peterson duking it out, right? 40-lap A-main, little bit of contact made, and let's just say Cole Searing was not happy. Enough contact that something happened. Tire went down on the last lap. TPO gets by him, takes a win. Searing gets 2nd. Kraus, I mean, yeah, he got into him. He did. It wasn't that much contact. I mean, it was kind of did it look like a racing deal to you? It did to me.
Yeah, it did. And, I don't know. There's I call them clean, dirty drivers out there, where it can make it look clean, where you're trying to cut down a left rear wheel. It's called clean, dirty. I know that because I'm a defenseman in hockey, and I was in front of the net. Bert, clean, dirty. That's what we called it. You were dirty, but you had to keep it clean so you wouldn't take a penalty, and you can do that on the racetrack. Don't tell anybody I said that, Bert, but you can do that on the racetrack. So, but I definitely think it was. You're not going to jeopardize yourself DNFing as well, too. So it's definitely a racing deal.
Night number 3, Saturday, Fiesta City Speedway. It took rubber, like lap 1. But it was weird because it took rubber in like 2.5 lanes. It was super wide. And they were just, wide open around that place. TPO gets a lead, Searing gets by him, and they get into lap traffic in a power move by Tyler Peterson. Super aggressive, threaded the needle, capitalized. Searing kind of got boxed out behind a lapper. TPO wins back-to-back nights. He won both nights at Fiesta City Speedway. Then they get over to Casino Speedway. Tyler Peterson starting 8th, Cole Searing starting on the pole. Cole Searing gets out front. It looks like this deal's over. It's over. He's driving off, had the best car, and there's a few cautions late. And TPO kind of got up in the mix. He gets up in the 2nd, 3rd, and I think he was in 2nd. He's outside on a Delaware. Scott Ward's inside. And again, enough contact to cut the tire down on Cole Searing. And, he forced it in, but it's Casino. It's tight. Tough break for Searing. Searing gets a flat leading again. This time he had to go to the pits, come back out. I think he got 10th. Then Tyler Peterson's the new leader. Pushes like a road grader in the first corner, falls back to 3rd. I'm like, what are you doing? He don't do that often, right? And he messed up. And both Scott Ward and Jeff Provenzino got by. Great finish at the end. Provenzino to the inside of Scott Ward. Massively disappointed in Jeff Provenzino because I know if I was leading and I raced against him, he would have punted my ass out of the way. I'm just saying the old Provenzino would have kind of roughed him up. He's like, I'm points racing. I think it's just soft, but great run for Provo getting 2nd. Scott Ward with a good weekend. We'll talk about that. But sounds like this weekend, TPO going to run Friday at Fargo NLRA show, and then Saturday sounds like tentatively going to Cedar for $12,000 to win. Cole Searing looks like he's tentatively going to Cedar. There's going to be some really good cars at the Masters. I gotta be honest. Enjoy the show. These are 2 very talented race car drivers, and it's worth the price of admission. When you know these 2 are going head to head, you want to get your butt to the racetrack. They're worth watching. Anything else that you want to touch on between these 2, Kraus? I know you've seen a lot of laps between these guys. Any other thoughts on TPO versus Searing 2024?
Yeah, well, it's exactly, if you're with Sodas actually and the fans, it's what you want. Your last 2 national champions going at it, duking it out. And that Casino race, I watched it again, and I'm like, I text you right away. I'm like, what's TPO doing on that restart? Well, was he protecting that slider? Because Ward threw a slider on Searing the restart before. And I know TPO saw that, so he kind of went in the middle into no man's land. I don't know how many, if you ran Casino in the last, I don't know how many years, but it's usually on the tires, you're on the fence. And it's dirty, and he went in the middle, and it was like, nope. He went straight to the wall, and the race is over. So I'm going to chalk that one up to Ward for chucking the slider on the restart before. And kind of baited TPO to, what am I going to do? And then he stuck by him. So good. He was super happy, man. He was super excited. He got out of the car, a bunch of family there. So shout out for Mr. Ward for getting that job done there, especially at kind of, his hometown track.
Yeah, the old guy getting it done. I love it. All right, guys, a little fan feedback brought to you by the editor of our show, Coach Kraus.
Yes, elevate-visual.com, video production, drone work, any sort of video, you need anything like that done. If you're a realtor, get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com, and you can also follow him on Facebook.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brandon. He does a great job. Definitely check his stuff out. So Matt sent one in. He said driver-to-driver interaction between adults and minors, right? So we have a lot of minors out there racing, a lot of people 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, where let's just say there's nobody holding them accountable. They go out there, they make a mistake, they get into somebody, wreck somebody's car. they don't really, mom and dad's not going to let them go talk to that driver alone. That's obviously not going to happen. And if you're the adult, you're not going to go confront the 12 or 14, 15-year-old, because that'll probably end up in a frickin' brawl, right? So where do you find the line between other drivers that they're competing against, able to give them some constructive criticism, maybe a little bit of a, butt chewing if they need it, versus mom and dad kind of coddling in them and protecting them from that? What's your thoughts, Carlos? You're a racer right now. I mean, if you got a 14-year-old there wads your shit up, I mean, you kind of want to go say something, but does a guy dare? I mean, mom and dad are going to be like, oh, hey, little Johnny, that's okay. Your thoughts on this deal? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a tough one, Ryan. If you saw the Midwest Mod feature at Viking Speedway, then we wadded up a couple of little ones, but it was a kind of a veteran's fault, and he kind of apologized for all the whole deal. So it's a super tough deal. And even the elderly races, so to speak, you get up to your 60s and 70s, or Clarence Washburn, who's 80, who was at some of the Challenge Series races this week. You get some grumblings about them too. So it's, I sit there and it's like, I'm 46 right now and I'm racing against 15, 16. But you know what, once, Ryan, we were at that age too. You know what I mean? So it's a super tough line. What to do. And a lot of, they come from the go-karts where the parents are kind of really involved. And they kind of get into the big cars, and it's kind of like, parents, get the hell out of the way, because there's going to be a pit fight and we don't want mom getting her hair pulled. So get out of the way. So no, it's a super delicate thing, but as being a racer, being young, and now being a track promoter, you get to see all that stuff. And like I said, we got a 12-year-old at Viking who's doing a great job. We got 14-years-old at Viking, and we got Ron Sauer, who just won on Saturday, who's he's in his 60s. So it's like the wide range that he could be the grandpa of those guys. So it's it's cool. But it's also something you have to be aware of, and make sure. My take on it is, hey, everybody's out there to race. Everybody's there, and whether you're 80 or you're 12, you're out there doing the same thing.
Yeah, you better keep your head on a swivel. That's for sure. I mean, 12, 13 will wreck somebody. They're not going to be. Maybe somebody will go over and punch their dad. I mean, that might happen. Bert.
You had mentioned, parents coddling their kids, the young kid. When it comes to racing, yes, you can coddle your kid a little bit, but racing's a dangerous sport. If they're doing something wrong, they need to know that they're doing something wrong, or, how to do things better, because it's not just them out there on the track that could get hurt. There's other people on the track too. So I agree, though, it's a delicate situation, but, kids need to be able to be given constructive criticism somehow.
Yeah, and this comes down to the parents. There are some great parents out there that are like, look, hey, you messed up. You got to go apologize. You screwed up, and they get on them. And then, as you know, Coach, you're a coach, right? You've seen parents. It's never their kid's fault. You're picking on my kids. So it comes down to parents, do the right thing, be observant. I know your kid's going to be the next Dale Earnhardt. I understand, right? But you got to do the right thing. All right. Dustin sent one in. He said, fan parent observation from multiple kids' nights over the last couple weeks. He goes, extremely disappointed. He goes, I've been to multiple kids' nights, and meet the driver's night is what we call it up at the Grand Rapids Speedway, where they pull the cars out on the front straightaway. And the drivers at that point, that's where you have your pictures and candy and dilly bars that Kraus had, and I had freezies and all that. And he's like, man, it is crazy how many drivers had no candy, no pictures, nothing to give out. Hell, there was multiple drivers, Kraus, where the drivers didn't even go out on the racetrack. They literally stayed in the pits, right? And then he's like, and dude, lose the sunglasses, right? He goes, and some of them are having their wives hand everything out. They're not even participating, and they're trying to be too cool for the fans. Kraus, this is a very, very good point here. I want your thoughts on this from a driver's perspective and as a track promoter. And then Bert, I want yours from a fan's perspective on this.
Well, first off, if you want to get driver introduction or intervention, whatever you want to put it, come to Viking Speedway, okay? Because like Saturday night, we had kids' nights, Ryan, and we gave our buddy Ryan Schmitz from Viking Coke had neon T-shirts. We gave away about 300 of them, and I signed, I bet you, a dozen to 20 T-shirts. And there's one kid, he goes, I'm getting everybody's autograph, and he had almost 40 autographs on his shirt. But when you come to Viking Speedway, it's just, you start with the Bitson clan, you get pictures from them, you come over to my car, and then you hit Avery Anderson, then you hit the Tennises, then you hit the Gertises, and you hit the Sowers, and then you get up to the street stocks, you got Newberta and the Musics and the old, you know what I mean? It's a tradition. Races got over at 9:15, the sun was still up, the kids come down. So I think some of it has to have to do with the track, what night you run. You know, you run up an I-94 Fergus Falls, you don't have that interaction. Or you run like me, if I ran when I was running in Wilmer on a Thursday night, we're heading home. You know what I mean? So after the races, you really don't get that. Like us at Viking, Bert and Ryan, we really don't do a drivers out on the front stretch because we always get it after the races. Where, you know, and I always did it, KRA Monty, I always tried to get my car out there. Sometimes you can't do it, but from a promoter standpoint, you think you need to be interactive with it and say, hey, drivers, let's do this. Like with Viking Speedway, it's just a tradition, Ryan and Bert. You're coming down afterward in the pits. Everybody's got pictures. I mean, the whole place has pictures. Kids are dropping pictures. They're laying all over the place in the pits at Viking. And, you know, as a driver, you know, you hear a lot about the national guys not interacting with fans. And you got to remember, they're traveling. They probably don't want to be near people. They've been away from their families. They're a little bit grumpy because they didn't win. But you know what? You may shoo away a 10, 12-year-old that may never ever come back to the races again. And might be $20 out of that track's pocket. So as a driver, and like I said, I always try to get out there. I set the container on my car, but when kids come up, I make sure I get out there and hand it to them. Thanks for coming. Did you have fun? Are you going to come back? And I even did this when I wasn't a promoter. So it's, you know, drivers, I think it needs to start with promoters and saying, drivers, you need to be good to our fans. You need to be good to our kids. You know, and then make sure you're being nice, and because they buy food, they buy cheeseburgers, and they help keep the doors open. So super great question. I know the national guys, it's tough to get a hold of those guys, but you know, guys like Shannon Babb, I know are good. Donnie Schatz is usually really good at like stuff like that. Ricky Weiss is good at stuff like that. I know down in Fergus a couple years ago, Brandon Shepard stood outside the Rocket One hauler. They were packed up, but he was standing out there doing stuff. So different guys are better at it than others, but you know, promoters, be active about it. You don't just assume your drivers are going to go do it, you know, and drivers, you know, we were once there too, Ryan, and we looked up to those guys. I remember running around in the pits and you run around and seeing, you know, guys like Jeff Hinklemeyer and Jeff Wildung when I was younger, and looking up to all these guys. And one day there's going to be a kid coming down to you. So, you know, make sure you're doing your part, promoters and drivers.
Yeah, and Viking's one of the few tracks that's done that early, where you do that after. Most of the tracks, I know, Hibbing, Grand Rapids, Proctor, Superior, all these tracks, they either do it prior to the racing event, right? They get all the cars on the track, or some do it at intermission. I kind of like the intermission deal myself, because that way there's more people there. But we had a rule in Hibbing when I was on the board that if you didn't participate in that, load your shit up, go home. Right? Like if you can't take a few minutes to go out and do the kids night for the fans, for the kids, and interact and be part of that deal, why are you here? Right? Because they're the ones paying the bill. So I think you should just go home if you're not participating, and the track promoters should enforce that. The World of Outlaws, they actually have a fan deal where their drivers, their tour drivers, they have a deal before the races where they get paid that extra monthly money. I'm not sure how that works. They have to participate in some of that stuff. So it's very important. Bert, your thoughts as a fan?
Well, yeah, I mean, just like Kraus said, that Viking Speedway has a tradition of it taking place after the races. Shawano Speedway is has a long tradition of fans interacting with drivers after the races. And now, I mean, if it's a scheduled time that the track has scheduled for drivers to interact with fans and drivers don't show up with that, yeah, that's really bad. And I would hope that that the sponsors of those drivers are watching and apply a little bit of pressure on those drivers and say, hey, why am I giving you this money if you're not even gonna, interact with fans? And the reason I'm sponsoring you is to try to get those fans to come to my business. So you have to participate, even if you don't like doing it. Just do it, for your sponsors, and do it for the kids, because the kids love it. I mean, kids love getting their hot shot cards. That's what they're called over here. And getting autographs. I mean, when I started in MJ's crew, I was a college freshman, and at the end of the night, I just enjoyed being around the team. So I actually had the hot shots. So kids would ask me for the hot shot, and then I would give it to them and do you want the driver to sign it? And then, oh yeah. So then I, get MJ's attention, and he would, sign it for them. So, I enjoy doing that. And, it's a good way to get, new fans, which is what you want ultimately.
Absolutely. So the next one here, anonymous late model fan from South Dakota. Little bit of conspiracy theory here for you guys. So late model feature here on Sunday, I didn't see it, right? But they're like, a lot of guys were kind of moving around, especially in 1 and 2. They're starting to go high. And next thing you know, you got the leader. He's changing his line. Didn't see anybody giving signals. Little speculation going on about radio communication between crew and driver. Now, I don't know if that's a thing or not. I know it's happened, right? I know they've checked for it on some national races. Is there a chance that's happening, Kraus, on the local level, radio communication between pit guys and drivers?
Well, here's the deal. Tracks and tech guys aren't smart enough to figure that out. So someone's leaking information. Another driver, another pit crew guy is going up to the track or up to the tech guy, say, hey, this guy's got radio on or doing whatever. And I'm sure I told you guys a story when they checked my helmet in Grand Forks back in 2018. They thought I had an LED screen in my helmet linked to my GoPro that I had pointing backwards so I could see who was behind me. I'm dead serious. They take my helmet off. I won the B feature at Grand Forks, and they made me take my helmet off, okay? They were checking for a TV screen in my helmet. I told Justin Vogel I have hard enough time seeing in front of me, let alone who's behind me, and he agreed. So, they did the check at Barry Braun did the check at the MTS show. They pulled the top 5 down on the front straightaway and pulled everybody's helmets out looking for radio communication. So it's obviously going on, because they're not going to come up and just start randomly checking for radio communication. So someone's getting tipped off. Somebody heard somebody in the stands or heard somebody in the pits, and who's he talking to? So, and to be honest with you, with cell phones and technology and Bluetooth and stuff these days, it'd be super easy to do. It'd be really easy to do, especially with guys they got the ear stuff right in their helmets. You could have one side connected to a cell phone and the other side connected to your receiver still. It'd be really easy to do. So doesn't surprise me at all. And I think it's good that they're looking for it. Maybe a little bit shot in the dark, but I definitely think there's some of it going on out there.
I think I would agree. In fact, I know that has happened in the past, and I know who did it. And it's something that is definitely a thing. The last one we have here is from Jeff, as Bert alluded to earlier. Oh, Bert, did you want to touch on that?
No, I'm good.
So as Bert alluded to earlier, Huddy running very well in the Rumley 71. Kyle Larson made the announcement that who knows when he's going to be back in a late model. 1 win, 2nd in the Dream Prelude, 4th in the Dream for Hudson O'Neal in the Rumley 71. Is he quietly becoming the new factory driver for Team Longhorn?
it's interesting the way you phrased it, factory driver. Well, I mean, it seems like he's definitely racing it more often in the non-Lucas shows. I don't know. I mean, he's definitely running well in it, and as long as he's running well, I would see him racing it more often. I don't know if he'll race it in Lucas shows, though. That's the question.
Would you rather have Sheppy right now as the Longhorn factory driver, or would you rather have Hudson O'Neal?
I think I'd rather have Hudson O'Neal with Rumley behind him.
Coach?
Yeah, definitely. There hasn't been Shepherd hasn't done nothing for the most part. Who knows? Maybe Rumley wants to race. You know what I mean? Maybe he's like, I'm not waiting around for Larson. You know, he's got a busy schedule, and sounds like Kyle was supposed to be committed to some more late model races this year, and he hasn't done them. He's got a ton going on. He's got a NASCAR championship to win. There's a little bit more money involved in NASCAR than running around the countryside racing, a dirt late model. So, he's got to do what he's got to do. But I just think Rumley wants to race. Huddy's available. Arguably top. Well, he's the top guy last year. He won the title, correct? So put that guy in there and let her buck. I just think Rumley wants to race more.
Absolutely. So the next segment here, top 10 dumbest WISSOTA Tech updates of 2024. And boys, there is a shit ton of them. We probably could have had 20. It is getting absolutely ridiculous. I have had a number of drivers reach out and they're like, we're sick of this shit, right? I'm telling you, I have had a lot of drivers reaching out going, I'm just not racing Princeton and Ogilvie. If the new tech guy is there, not happening. I'm sick of it, not going there. I even had a few drivers reach out, Kraus, and say, if this new tech guy doesn't quit his shit, we're all going to band together, keep tearing his kid down until he gets the point. So I don't know. There's some people really, really upset. So this segment brought to you by Hard Charger Performance Specialties. That's Nick Hoff out in Sydney, Montana. Been building race engines for over 20 years, street stocks to late models, everything in between. I personally have had success with his stuff. So has Jeff Provenzino and many others. Now, if you're a crate guy out west, right, you got to get your crate fixed because it's a crate engine and you're probably going to have to. He's the certified crate repairer out in Montana. And if you just want to tune your shit up, right, go check out his dyno, schedule some dyno time and get a super tune on that thing. That's Hard Charger Performance Specialties. That's Nick Hoff out in Sydney, Montana. All right. So I got 10 here. I'm going to roll down, and I'll pause for a second. If you want to chime in on any of it, you go out right on ahead. But number 10, halo bars. All right. So apparently somebody on the tech committee feels like they have a PhD and they're an absolute, mechanical engineer, and they're smarter than all the chassis builders. And now they're literally adding bars to the roll cage of these cars that are already extremely tough to get out of. I've talked to several drivers that are bigger, right? I'm talking guys that are, that's 6'3", 6'4", a little bit bigger bodied. They're like, how much more shit you want us to put in there? At some point, somebody's not going to be able to get out of one of these things in a crash because they keep adding these bars that, in my mind, are completely unnecessary. Some drivers upset about it. I get it. They're trying to talk safety there. But when some of these tracks and stuff have wall openings and stuff like that, how concerned with safety really are there? Kraus, any thoughts on these new halo bars that they're adding to WISSOTA cars?
Yeah, more halo bars. Still got to run your window net, but yeah, we can have guys rolling down the back straight with their arms hanging outside their chassis because we don't have to run arm restraints. We got to get it figured out.
That's number 9. Number 9, I slid this one up, window nets. Okay, so late models. Get this, it makes no sense. So late models, it's optional. You can run window nets if you want to, or arm restraints. All the other classes, you have to run window nets. I've been around racing my whole entire life. There is not one single person on planet Earth that is going to convince me that window nets make racing safer. They are absolutely the dumbest thing ever. In fact, in a lot of cases, they've actually been more dangerous to have a window net in the car. Arm restraints done properly is what drivers need to have in there. That's something. There's a tech committee meeting coming up here. Is that going to be something that you talk about there, Kraus, is getting rid of this stupid window net rule and going to arm restraints?
100%, especially after seeing that rollover in Fergus. We need to make sure we're doing the right safety things here. I have zero issues with doing safety things, but let's do the right safety things here. And we can go on and on about the window nets, Ryan, but we talked about it. The reason why it got done in the late models and the reason why there was motions in the modifieds and the supers that got denied. So we'll just leave it at that, but it's definitely got to be a topic.
100%. Number 8, we talked about this at length a couple different times. Elimination of cold air boxes, specifically in the super stock division. They cost nothing. You can build this shit yourself. It's not a big deal. They're like, oh man, it's a huge advantage and this, that, and the other. It's like, what are we talking about? Kraus, I don't know if you've heard this or not, right? But there's discussion going on allegedly in the tech committee right now that, you know how the affordables have their radiators tipped back, the fan shroud sits up high. They're actually talking like, well, the way the shrouds are made, that's an aerodynamic advantage. So now we're talking cold air boxes, fan shrouds. Quit your shit. All right. Like, nobody gives a shit. There ain't one person at the racetrack that gives a shit if one guy has a cold air box or a funky fan shroud. Nobody cares. Right. Worry about more important shit. This stuff is just nonsense. All right. Next one here. We'll go to, speaking of cold air boxes, we're going to go to number 7. There's a rule in place that you must be able to remove the hood of the race car without taking the air cleaner off. Bert, you're a race fan, okay? Now, if you're watching the races and you're cheering for Jeff Kraus and he goes out and wins the feature, and all of a sudden you're like, man, that was great. I drove all the way to Viking Speedway. I saw my buddy Jeff Kraus win the A main, but they DQ'd him because they had to take the air cleaner off to get the hood off. Obviously not a speed deal by any means. They're like, oh, it's a safety deal, which makes no sense whatsoever. Are you kind of annoyed going like, what you're disqualifying people for that stupid shit? What are you talking about?
Well, I'm annoyed. I would be annoyed by that, but I will say this. If they have to take the hood off in order to hook a wrecker up to the car, then as a fan, I want you to be able to get the hood off without taking the air cleaner off, because if you have to take all this stuff off to get that car off the track, then I'm going to be sitting there longer as you clean up an accident. But if they have a chain on the front nose that they can hook the tow truck up to pull it off, then I'm fine with it.
Let's face it, one nut, right? One nut is all it is. One nut is all it is on the air cleaner. It takes literally 2 seconds to take it off there. But I understand your point. Their thing was safety, but dumb rule. Disqualifying people, I mean, that shouldn't be a disqualification. If you're going to be adamant about this, just say, look, we want you to be able to get this shit off, for this reason, but disqualifying people for that is nonsense. The next one, number 6, the SSR knows. Okay. So we talked about this prior, a few weeks back. So the rule on the Midwest mod is you can't have side rudders on the nose piece. You can't have lips. Okay. Well, there's literally a 3-inch section that's tucked in behind the bumper to where it's not even an advantage. Nobody gives a shit. But I guarantee where this came from is driver A lost to driver B in an SSR. And they're like, well, look, that thing's illegal. Driver A, I don't know who you are, but you get a donkey award, because I promise you that little flap down on the bottom right of the nose piece did not make you lose. Okay. So the ticky-tack shit here is it's just dumb. It's got to go. Here's another one, Kraus, and I don't know if you heard about this one or not. Fiesta City Speedway, Friday night number 1. Hunter Carter disqualified in the heat race for a 1-inch lip on the back of his spoiler. Okay, so his spoiler had a 1-inch lip on the bottom where it bolts to the back bar, right? And then it angled up, and then there was like a 1-inch lip going back. Every spoiler I've ever seen has a piece of angle iron or something, aluminum angle on the back of it riveted on to support that spoiler. He literally had an angle going back as a support so it doesn't bow. Disqualified because that 1-inch lip going back off the spoiler, huge aerodynamic advantage for the street stock. Clearly the reason he's fast. He's a cheater, 100%. This is bullshit, all right? Like, literally somebody should take that spoiler and smack whichever dumbass tech guy was involved with that. And I know the head of Wissota Teching was there, so go ahead, smack him, right? That is the dumbest shit ever to be disqualifying somebody. You buy a spoiler kit and it literally comes with a piece of aluminum angle to rivet to the back of the spoiler as a support. Kraus, did you hear about that?
I did, and made me look up in the rule book, and I didn't look in the streeters, but the Supers does have a rule on that. You know, Ryan, it's some 30-degree angle off the back. I don't have that because I just double fold my spoilers so they're sturdy enough. I probably put 2 and 2 together, and hey, let's just double a spoiler to make it stronger. Not have to put 3,000 rivets across the back of it, or a piece of aluminum angle. But yeah, it's suppose, you know, WISSOTA's got a wind tunnel and their wind tunnel test and all this stuff, so they know what's going on. And you know, a street stock going 65 miles an hour down the back straightaway at Montevideo is definitely an aero advantage.
100%. Yeah. Number 4, molded diffusers not allowed on the roofs. Mostly late models are talking for 2025. This kind of a late model deal. Pretty much all the roofs now are coming. It's just a molding on the back. It's a support deal. And we're talking like just a slight little bump. I mean, I don't know if they're even a 1/4 inch high, but ticky-tack stuff like that literally not one driver, no drivers in the late model class even gives a shit about it at all. But, oh my God, the almighty WISSOTA Tech Committee got to make a rule, got to have more rules, got to enforce this one. Ridiculous. All right. Number 3, this one's one of my favorites right here. Fender tops and quarter panel tops can have no more than 4 inches of material showing when the hood covers the fender tops or the trunk covers the quarter panel tops. You can have no more than 4 inches of material showing on those on each side. So you can run as wide of a fender top or quarter panel top as you want, but oh man, you better have a really wide ass hood and a really wide ass trunk for no apparent reason whatsoever, because they're flimsier, probably more unsafe, literally cause the hood pin studs to break more often. It's literally the dumbest rule ever, right? It's like, I get they got to have a rule for it. It makes no sense. If the overall width is the same, it doesn't make one lick of difference, right? If it's 72 inches across and you have a 2-inch overlap, it does not matter how much material is there. This nonsense rule, Kraus, I know this one we talked about, stupid, right? Absolutely stupid. Here's another good one. No more than 4 hex head bolts across the back of your roof because it's an aerodynamic advantage. You have got to be fucking kidding me. Literally, I would love to hear which dumbass on the tech committee came up with this one, because I don't know that it gets more stupid than this. This is ridiculous. Like, who gives? Again, nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. They're like, well, yeah, but there was one guy that had like a whole shitload of bolts across the back. So, right, if he wants to do that much work, I promise you that's not going to make him win. I promise. That is not going to have one lick to do with that driver winning the race. Nobody cares. Stop it, okay? And the last one we talked about last week, the upper ball joint, the way that it bolts onto a Mod 4. Plain and simple, if you don't understand how geometry works on suspensions, quit making rules, okay? Quit making rules, because not to get too much in the weeds, but pivot points is all that matters when it comes to front end geometry, not where it's mounted in the actual angle of the A-frame. Literally making stupid ass rules when they don't know anything about rules. It's absolute nonsense. So my question for you guys is this. Has WISSOTA as a whole completely just forgotten about their purpose in this whole racing thing? Have they just completely lost their minds? Because when it started in the early 80s, it was about having uniform rules so you can race multiple tracks. That's the idea of a sanctioning body. Not 4 billion rules, just uniform rules, so that way you can run at multiple tracks under this basically the same guidelines. And their other deal is to promote drivers, promote tracks, promote racing, and get a point fund out there to kind of help with racing with a national points fund and stuff like that. Where in the world did they get the idea that they need to have a nitpicky bullshit rule for absolutely every single thing, literally to annoy people? I've had comments, guys, of drivers saying, look, I can see why some people are going IMCA. I'm not saying IMCA is any better, but they're like, I can see why they're going IMCA with all this nitpicking shit. I can see why people are getting fishing boats because they're sick of all the drama. We just want to race and have fun. Quit with this nitpicking shit. They can get rid of at least half the rules in the rule book and have good, fair, equal racing that would be entertaining for all. Any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, the only thing, you hit it right on the head, Ryan, is they're just driving drivers away. Like they don't even want to show up. It's like some guys don't even want to finish in the tech shed. It's like that the bolt on the back of the roof deal that actually first I found about it was I don't know if it was Josh Tennis' car or his kid's Talon. He had 6 bolts and they made him drop to 4, or they had to be in the countersink. The countersunk ones, they had to be the same. You couldn't have just the bolt. And I'm sitting here going, what's going on here? This was before the races even started. Like, who cares? Obviously that street stock that rolled over in Fergus had 0 bolts in his whole car, and then someone has too many bolts, and then you make them take it out. I don't get it. Like I said, I'm glad this tech meeting's coming at the right time. Hopefully we get some promoters down there and we get on the same page with them. That's the big thing. We just got to get on the same page with everybody, get everybody on the on the up and up here, and stop driving drivers away from the racetrack. We need cars. We need drivers. We don't need to start nitpicking all this stuff.
So, Bert, there's one more honorable mention here. The Hornet drivers have to have an actual repair manual for the make, model, and chassis of their car on hand at the racetrack, because God forbid the dumbass tech guys have not heard of Google, right? You have to have, like, some of them actually have them zip tied inside their car. 12-year-olds are like, what's a Chilton manual? I don't even know what they're talking about, right? It's like, so yeah, you're spot on. So racers, please, if you're getting disqualified or warned about absolutely nonsense stuff like this, hit us up. We want to hear about it, whether it's in the comments, private message. We want to hear about it. We want to get the word out to your own promoters and say this has got to come to an end. We're all about fair, equal racing. You got to have some rules, but when it comes to this ticky-tack stuff, nobody cares. It's gotta come to an end. So let's jump into our Fast Five, and we're going to tie in who's hot and who's not into this, and we're going to give each of us just a couple minutes on final shout-outs, who's hot on your list, who's not on your list. Brought to you by our friends at Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So Buck, the founder of Daytona One, of course, he is extremely knowledgeable in the lubricant industry, in the Hall of Fame at NASA specifically for lubricants. In fact, the only lubricant guy in the NASA Hall of Fame. Firm believer in loving, he wants to take racers and help reduce the cost by making stuff last longer, whether that's engines, gears, transmissions, right? Or it could be tires. They have tire treatment as well. Check out all the great products they have at Daytona One Performance Lubricants on Facebook or online, and check out what they have. So, Bert, your final thoughts here. Any your Fast Five, any final shout outs, thoughts over the weekend, and your hot and not?
I have a couple of things. Well, I guess for my hot list, I'll go with Dustin Sorensen winning 2 Dirt Kings races over the weekend. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the Dirt Kings. Now, Friday night, Seymour Speedway in Eastern Wisconsin had late models racing. Dirt Kings, which is promoted as an Eastern Wisconsin Dirt Late Model Tour, was racing in Mississippi Thunder Friday night. And Seymour had 17 late models, and Mississippi Thunder had, 26, I think, something like that. And but there, I had counted on Friday night, Dirt Kings was down to 6 drivers who raced in all 3 races so far this year. After Saturday night's show in Iowa, I believe they're down to 4 drivers who have raced in all 4 shows this year. So I think Dirt Kings is going to be, I think they're going to have to reevaluate their game plan on how they want to move after this season, they're going to have to evaluate where they're going as a series, because you can't have a series that has 4 drivers following it.
No, I think what they're going to have to do is just talk to the drivers, right? That was based out of Eastern Wisconsin. Make a list of every Eastern Wisconsin late model, whether it's Plymouth, Seymour, Shawano, right? Whatever tracks are over there, talk to all the drivers and see, what do we have to do to make this series grow? It's shrinking right now. And I look at it and I'm an outsider. So I'm not over in that area, but just looking at it from the outside, it used to enhance racing over there. Now it's competing against racing over there, which is never good. And a lot of traveling series, I've seen this, and Kraus, you've seen this with regional series as well. They'll start out kind of a condensed deal, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's go over this way and let's go over that way. And pretty soon their core drivers are like, hey, we don't want to travel. It costs too much. We're going to stick at home. So that's definitely, they're going to have some pretty in-depth conversations moving forward for sure.
And then I want to list on my not hot list, just because I want to see Kraus's reaction to this. Tyler Bruning skipped the dream this weekend to race 2 Dirt Kings races, started on the pole in both features and did not win either one of them.
You can't fix stupid, Bert.
I was shocked by that. I mean, let's face it, he's never won a Lucas race or a World of Outlaw race, so he's probably more of a regional driver anyway. But when you have that race and you've raced at that level for a few years like he has, probably got to show up to the dream. I'm just saying.
And then did you guys see the USRA late model accident in the heat races at Mississippi Thunder, where 2 late models left the park?
I did. Both drivers were okay, right?
Yes. Both drivers were all right.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. You don't see one leave the park. We saw one leave the park last year. Was it Clanton or somebody left the park over there at their race? Somebody left the park at Mississippi Thunder, but this time 2 down the front straightaway. So fortunately, nobody was hurt in that one for sure. Anything else, Bert?
One final shout out. Tom Nayer won the feature at Outagamie Speedway in Seymour last Friday. It's actually a pretty good race between him and Mitch McGrath. And I mean, this might be Nayer's last year racing. He's been kind of hemming and hawing the last couple of years. He is in his late 60s, so it's a good victory for him to park it in victory lane.
For sure. Congratulations, Tom. He's had a good career for sure. So hate to see him go. Coach Kraus, your final shout outs here, and who's hot, who's not?
First out, got to give a shout out to Cole Schill. Big feature win in the late model in Bemidji last night. Smoked him. Absolutely killed him. So congrats to the 44 Cole Schill going up to Bemidji, getting a good win. It's a good payout up there. Bert, you ever heard of a Wissota Hornet driver getting 2 second place finishes in the same night at different tracks? You ever heard of that, Bert?
No.
So last year's, we were short trackers last year. We're Wissota Hornets now at Viking. Last year's Hornet track champion, Cole Campson from Viking Speedway, got second Saturday night. Bert decided to load up. I'm going to head to Fiesta City Speedway and try to make the feature down there. Started dead last and got second at Fiesta City Speedway on the same night. So shout out to Cole, good kid. I've got to know him real well. I talked to him a lot. I talked to him a lot in this offseason about rules, Ryan. And he was giving me a lot of good feedback, what to look for. So congrats to Cole Campson for getting 2 second place finishes in one night. I thought that was pretty cool. Then I had a fan reach out to me and asked me why David Carlson was at Casino Speedway on Sunday and he wasn't at his home track. Doesn't he live like right down the street in Huron? They had a double header out there and he wasn't in Huron. So did either of you two hear anything about that?
No.
I've been sworn to secrecy on this one, but I did. I don't know all the details. Clearly I wasn't there. Some kind of altercation at the pit gate, and I know David, right? And I think he's a pretty laid back guy. So sources say that he was maybe in the right on this one, but there was some kind of an altercation, a big argument, disagreement, and he decided, you know what, I'm just going to go home and not race Huron. And unfortunate, because they had a couple pretty good paydays. They had a couple pretty good tri-state shows, but yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Don't know all the details, but some kind of a disagreement there, and he decided to go home and race Casino on Sunday.
Got it. And then quick go over my my not hot drivers. Dennis Jr. Guys, he's not in the ballpark right now. It's sad. He's been okay. I think he's floating around that 5th, 6th, 7th range in the World Outlaws. Looked like there was a bottom side at Eldora, and he couldn't get that working. He's one of those guys that you want to see win. You know what I mean? He's just one of those guys you want to see win. So hopefully he can get her back going. Locally, I got to put Danny Vang on the not hot list, Ryan. He's had some big wins in the last year or two, especially at I-94. A couple of those XR deals last year, he was really fast, and he really hasn't been in the ballpark this year. I thought maybe he'd be contending for some of these deals. So I'm going to put him on the not hot list. My hot list, I don't have anybody regionally after the weekend, local or nationally. It's kind of the same guys. But locally, Wissota land, I got to go with Mike Stearns, Ryan. He got the big win at Buffalo River Speedway on Sunday. He got second at Viking Speedway on Saturday. So thanks for Mike for coming over and running Viking. He had a hot rod, and Brett Hoyam got the win. And he was right there, right behind him. And, he's got wins at Aberdeen. He's got a win at Miller. I think it's other than his opener at I-94, his worst finish this year is 4th. So Mike Stearns off to a hot start this year. So that's pretty much my who's hot, who's not. Obviously, I'm probably still on the list, Ryan, because a 6th place finish probably not going to knock me off that. But, good to see. I thought that was a really cool deal with Cole Campson getting 2 second place finishes in the same night. That's a cool deal.
That is really cool. And Brett Hoyam, there's a guy that wins, he wins 1 or 2 every single year, right? Every year he gets victory lane. So I have a couple shout outs. Chasten Finkbone. So of course, 3rd generation racer. I've known Chasten forever. Guys, when he was a little kid, right? 6, 7 years old or however old he was, I'm freaking old now. He used to sit in my car when I winched it in Grand Rapids and steer because I was buddies with his dad, Chad. But he got kind of a rough call there in Proctor. Pure stock feature on Sunday. He got punted. He gets spun out. He gets put to the back, and he stormed from dead last to win in Proctor in precision fashion. I mean, his dad was a very talented race car driver as well. But super cool seeing Chasten Finkbone take that adversity, put it to the side, and drive to the front and win regardless. So congratulations to him and Johnny Broking. So we talked about him the last several years. He's in a late model this year, guys. First career win in a late model. He won in Hibbing Saturday night from 8th, and he whooped the shit out of him. And I had a few people say, yeah, well, Provenzino and Burdick weren't there. Well, that's probably a good thing because his car, I watched, it rotated and drove off the corner, and he drove a hell of a race, and that car went anywhere he wanted. He is going to be a guy to watch in that late model. Of course, he's won a ton of races in the modified division. Johnny Broking just getting started in that late model. Street Stock Tour winners, we didn't touch on that. Mike Jans, Eric Riley, Braden Brower, they won their 3 respective nights of the Street Stock Tour. I'm going to go on the hot list first. Scott Ward. Scott Ward with a big weekend. So he ran 2 tri-state races. Of course, Friday at Aberdeen rained out. Saturday, 13th to 2nd at Huron in the tri-state late model race there. Then on Saturday night, that was on Thursday. Saturday night, he got 3rd, and then he won the Challenge Series race on Sunday. So a 1st, 2nd, and a 3rd. Scott Ward's a guy that we had on the not hot list a lot last year. Boy, he looked really, really sporty, and he was super excited with the way the weekend went. Congrats, Scott Ward. Another one I have here, Chad Becker, all right? Maybe not so good the first night, but he bagged another 5,000 a win show. Chad Becker wins a lot of races, and he doesn't travel too much. He kind of sticks to home, but it don't matter who comes to his area. $5,000 to win. He parked in victory lane. Josh Gorcheski getting it done night one of the Tri-State. Tough deal there. 16-year-old Charlie Olson. You guys have heard of Chad Olson, of course. Chad Olson's won a lot of races in a late model. His 16-year-old kid mostly runs the USRA lates, but he ran in the Tri-State late models, won the feature Thursday night at the Dakota State Fair Speedway in Huron, light at the scales. That would have been his first career win in a late model. That one stings. That one stings a little bit, but shake it off, kid. You're going to be just fine. Also on the hot list, Sheldon Hodenschild. 3 wins in the last 5 races. His other one, a second and a sixth. He has been, we talked about where's he been, right? He kind of struggled last year, hit and miss. Boy, he's been good here the last few weeks. The point battle in the World of Outlaws also on the hot list. 54 points separating the top 4. As good as he's been in the last few weeks, he's not in the top 4, right? He's got a lot of work to do to get there. But David Gravel, Carson Macedo, Donnie Schatz, Hot Sauce Giovanni Selzy, 54 points. That's a super hot point battle right there. And, of course, we talked about it, TPO versus Cole Searing. That's a great, great one right there. On the not list, Pat Dorr. Pat Dorr. I mean, he did get, he had a good run here a couple weeks ago, but just he's lacking something. And I get it, right? Maybe he stayed the same speed and Searing and TPO were just that much faster. But Pat Dorr he's missing something in that double one express. And I'm going to have him on the not hot list. Mike Marlar, guys. He started out so freaking good early in the year. We're like, this guy's going to be contender. He fell out of the top 4 in the Lucas points. Didn't make the feature at the Dream. Just struggling right now in the 157. We'll see if he can turn it around. And Dave Dulciak, the guy that I crew for. So I'm wearing a little Dave Dulciak garb right here. Winless so far. And I get it, Mother Nature taking advantage. But winless thus far after a double-digit win season last year. Hasn't found victory lane yet. He's going to Fairbury on Saturday. He's going to Sycamore on Sunday. So let's see if he can find victory lane in that 83. So, guys, let's jump into our 2024 Pick'em segment brought to you by Brad Parson, Soil and Ag Solutions. Western Minnesota, North and South Dakota. If you're in farming, you want more profitability, you want higher yields, you got to get the right stuff in those spray packages to get better results. Well, I don't know anything about that, but Brad certainly does. Give Brad Parson a call. Find out what you can about how to have a better farming season, how to make more money, how to get what you need to be successful in your farming endeavors. And also a shout out to Brad because our Pick'em segment here, boys, he spearheaded this deal. He threw some money in. Impact Health Sharing did. Our boy Worker Bee, he threw some money in as well. And we're going to have other sponsors coming on board as well. The winner of our Pick'em segment is going to get to pick a driver that they sponsor next year. Got to have a sticker on the car. Working on that. I've had quite a few people reach out. I have stickers coming here this week, and I will have a list on the Facebook page where you can find those stickers. So we will have stickers for people, but we want to be able to give some money back to the sport. So this past week, our movers and shakers, surprise, surprise, Curtis again, plus 17. Nobody even close. He just whooped the shit out of us again. Changa, plus 13. Bromance, Dan and Beefcake, plus 12. The 71A and the Uper, plus 11. Worker Bee, plus 10. Bert, plus 9. Man Bun Dan, plus 7. Coach. What? Plus 5? You had a rough week there, guy. Struggle bus. So our points right now, Curtis back on top, 153. Changa at 150. Those two in a runaway, and then it's super tight for the next, the next several spots. I'm third at 123. Dan at 120. Coach at 119. So you're still in striking distance. Worker Bee 114. Mr. Bert at 113. Beefcake at 110, Uper at 109, Bromance at 100, and Man Bun Dan bringing up the tail at 88. He gives Kraus shit about not finishing races, and he's running a dead last himself. So, guys, we got multiple races we're picking. We picked one already. One already happened. It's Monday night. We're doing the show. XR late models at Kokomo, 18 cars, really? Not a good deal. You said Moran won, right? Moran win that deal? So I don't know who had who. I had Bobby Pierce, Bert, Kraus. Who did you guys have tonight at Kokomo?
I had RTJ.
I had RTJ too.
Okay, so I'm guessing who got second? I know Pierce won.
I was Moran won, Gustin got
yeah.
second, Pierce got third. RTJ was a DNF.
Okay.
Turbo and
Of course.
Fager were beating the brakes off each other. I think there was only 6 or 7 cars on the lead lap, to tell you the truth, because Fager punted Turbo, and I thought they both got their spot backs, but they were in 6th and 7th. They were the last 2 cars on the lead lap. So it was rough. It was choppy. It was hammered down and had some character, but great race.
Nice. All right. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models at Smoky Mountain Friday and Saturday. Bert, who do you got?
RTJ ×2.
Coach?
I got RTJ Friday and Hudson O'Neill on Saturday.
Okay, and I got RTJ ×2 as well. Cedar Lake Speedway hosting the Masters this weekend. And to start with, they got the Cedar Lake late models, kind of a hybrid, similar to the Dirt Kings rules. You can outrun open motors with the restrictor, but 3 nights of action, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Guys, it's $3,000, $5,000, $12,000 to win, increased from last year. Who do you guys have for the late model portion of the Masters?
Dustin Sorensen ×3.
Searing, Mars, Searing.
I have Dustin Sorensen ×3 as well. And I got to be honest, I got nothing against Dustin Sorensen, but I want to see one of our WISSOTA boys get that shit done. So let's go WISSOTA drivers in that one. Cedar Lake Speedway, the USMTS Modifieds, 3 nights of action as well. Bert.
You want all 4 for the next night then also?
Sure.
Sorensen, Ebert, Tim.
Sorensen, Ebert, Tim. Okay. Coach?
Sanders, Tim, Ebert.
And I have Tim, Brandon Davis to win $12,000 and Rodney Sanders to win at Granite City. NLRA late models at the Red River Valley Speedway, West Fargo, North Dakota. Bert?
Strand.
Coach?
TPO.
And I also have the 1 TPO of Tyler Peterson. All right, Fast Lane Motorsports Super Stock Series, Thursday, Grand Rapids Speedway, Friday at the Gondiklah Speedway in Superior, Wisconsin, Saturday at the Ogilvie Raceway in Ogilvie, Minnesota, and Sunday at the Granite City Motor Park. Bert, who do you got?
Cook Spacek.
Okay.
Cook, Kyle Kopp. I'm going to take a flyer and take Sabraski at Ogilvie. I don't know what his plans are. I don't know, just Mr. Ryan. I was going to do some research today. I didn't have time. I called Searing, got the information there. I got his number. Then Dexton Cook on Sunday in Granite.
Yeah, see, I'm anticipating Sabraski going to the Masters, but I don't know that for sure. I got Dylan Nelson to win in Grand Rapids, and then I got Dexton Cook to win at the next 3 races. All right, high limit sprint cars, $55,000 to win on Tuesday night, Eagle Raceway in Nebraska. Bert, who do you got?
Sweet.
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson as well. All right. Clash at the Creek IMCA Modifieds Tuesday and Wednesday, $10,000 to win both nights, isn't it, Bert?
Yes.
So 141 Speedway, I believe that's on Flow Racing. So that They should have a bunch of hitters there. Bert, who do you have?
Tuesday night I have Cody Laney, and Wednesday night Johnny the Hitman Whitman.
All right. Coach?
I got TBJ both nights.
I'm going to go the local guy here. I think he's due to take home a big payday from 141. I'm taking Benji Lacrosse ×2. All right. Rebel Midwest Modified Tour. They run Friday, I-94 Speedway, Fergus Falls, Saturday at the High Flying Half Mile, Viking Speedway in Alexandria, and Buffalo River on Sunday. Bert, what say you?
Rodine, Justin Jones, and Justin Jones.
It's a good pick. All right. Coach?
Just an FYI, Ryan, I think you skipped the World of Outlaw sprint cars. I don't know if you have them down further. I think you missed them.
I probably did.
I have Corey Stork at I-94, Tanner Bitson at Viking, and Nate Reinke at Buffalo River.
Okay, and I have Nate Reinke at I-94 and Corey Stork at Viking and Buffalo River. So the World of Outlaw sprint cars Friday, Saturday at Knoxville. Bert, who do you have?
Macedo ×2.
Coach?
I have Shots on Friday and Macedo on Saturday.
I have Gravel ×2 as long as he doesn't wreck the field like he did this week. All right. UMP Dirt Car Summer Nationals, the Hell Tour underway. Wednesday, Peoria, Illinois. Thursday, Kankakee. Friday, Tri-City in Granite City, Illinois. Saturday, #Falls. And Sunday at Sycamore. Bert?
Highside Hustler ×5.
Coach?
Come on, Bert. He's the only thing he's going to be hustling is the parts store with all the stuff he's going to wreck this weekend. That's what all he's good for. And all he does is bitches and complain these days too. So I got Bab. I got McKay Winger at Fairbury, and I got Bab.
I got Jason Fager on Wednesday and Thursday, Bobby Pierce on Friday and Saturday, and Jason Fager on Sunday. All right, guys, our final segment here. 3 bold predictions, where every week we make 3 bold. Sometimes Bert makes them predictions, so they're not so bold. And we keep track of our statistics. So, Bert, first for you, T-Mac is going to podium both the prelim night and the A-main at the Dream. That did not happen. You said Scott Bloomquist is going to make the A-main at the Dream. You tried to get him killed, for sure. And then you said both Dirt Kings late model winners this past weekend at Mississippi Thunder and Decorah, Iowa, would be drivers that were not in the top 10 in Dirt Kings points. And Dustin Sorensen won both. So you got that one correct, Bert. You got one on the board. All right. I had 3 coming off the board. I said Kurt Myers would have the best average finish in the Fastlane Superstock Series and would have at least 1 win this weekend. Nope, that did not happen. I said RTJ would have the best average finish of the night's race at the Dream. That did not happen either. And I said Tyler Peterson would have at least 1 win in Challenge Series races. 50% or more of the races ran, he'd be on the podium, and he would have a better average finish than Cole Searing. And that did happen. That not by much, but I got that one correct. All right, Uper, he said the Dream would have a first-time winner for the 2nd year in a row. Well, he did get correct the 2nd year in a row, but Jonathan Davenport won the 2nd year in a row, and he wasn't a first-time winner, nor did Hudson O'Neill win it last year, so I'm not sure what he was thinking there. So that one he got wrong. He said the Ironman Shane Sobraski would get his first structural buildings with Soda Late Model Challenge Series win this past weekend, and that did not happen. A little bit of a learning curve there for Shane. And then he said the Fastlane Superstock Series, 1 driver would win either 3 of 4 or 2 of 3. 3 races were ran, but there were different winners all 3 nights, so he did not get that correct. So 3 incorrect for him. Coach, you said Sammy Mars would make the A-main at the Dream. God, he's been running good this year. He has. He's been really fun to watch, but that did not happen. And you said there would be a different winner each night of the Fastlane Superstock Series. You got that one correct. And, Coach, you got another one correct. You said the Fiesta City Late Model A-mains, whoever wins night 1 will also win night 2, and TPO double up there. So a pair on the board for Coach Krause. And then Kenny, representing the Peanut Gallery. RTJ is going to DNF the Dream. Nope, but he DNF'd tonight, but that doesn't count. He said Donnie Schatz would win at Ogilvy. Nope. And he said the World of Outlaw podium drivers Friday would be the same on Saturday. That also did not happen. So we keep track of our correct predictions and the percentage that have come off the board that's correct. And right now, the old Uper at 16 correct, leading the way. Bert, you're in second at 12. Peanut Gallery at 11. 29 Star with your 2 this week. You jumped ahead of me at 10, and I'm sucking hind tit at 9. I suck at this. It just is what it is. Our percentages, the Uper leading the way there as well. So Uper Jeff, he's at 30.2. Slight edge on the Peanut Gallery at 26. And then it is Bert, myself, and Coach Kraus bringing up the tail in that one. So we have 3 predictions. I have a couple here from, I got 3 from Kent. I got 3 from the Uper, 3 from Kenny, 3 from myself. We're going to go Bert, Coach, and then I'll read the other ones off quickly. Bert, your first prediction of the week.
I will say Dustin Sorensen will have at least 4 feature wins this next week total between the 2 classes.
Wow. Dustin Sorensen hype train right here. At least 4 feature wins this weekend for Dustin Sorensen. Kraus, that's bold. That's bold.
Did you buy a bunch of Dustin Sorensen apparel this week, Bert, or what the heck's going on?
You got fanboy going on here. Fanboy Bert. All right.
We're going to have to switch his name to Bromance because he's definitely got one going on here.
All right. We see how this is. All right, Coach, you're first.
I'm going with the Dream Hangover. Mr. 49, no podiums this week.
No podiums for Superman. All right, Kent's first one. Dustin Strand is going to win the NLRA Late Model A Main at West Fargo on Friday night. The Uper's first prediction.
Whoa. What was that?
Dustin Strand.
Kent. He's going to win what?
The NLRA Late Model A Main.
That's bold. Throw that out.
I think it is. The TPO is going to whoop him. I'm just saying.
No, throw it out. That don't count. Tell him sorry. We run the show. He doesn't run the show. This is our show.
He's got something for you. So you better relax. He's got something for you.
I'll throw that one out too.
We got something for
you. Win. Jeez.
All right. We got Uper here. A non-World of Outlaw regular driver will win at least one of the races at Knoxville this weekend. With the other feature that he's in, that driver will be on the podium in that one. So one non-Woo driver is going to win and podium this weekend at Knoxville. All right. Now we have Kenny. 5 nights of the Hell Tour this weekend. 5 different winners. That's bold. Good job, Kenny. That's a good pick. Good prediction. All right. I am going to go with the Hell Tour. It turns out maybe a little drama tonight. I'm not really sure. Didn't watch the race yet. Jason Fager will have a better average finish over the 5 nights than Turbo Tyler Erb. Jason Fager, better average finish than Turbo this week on the Hell Tour. All right, Bert, your second prediction.
All right, I'm going to do this one just for Coach. Because you did your Jason Fager will have a better average than Shannon Babb on the Hell Tour this week.
All right. Coach?
I like it. A little competition, Bert. Now give me something to watch. I can rub it into you. I like it. We're going, where are we going? We're going to the Fastlane Superstock Series, Ryan. Duh. What do you think we're going to do? Got to keep my streak alive. I'm going 4 different winners this week as well. I got 4 races, 4 different winners.
All different winners. Now, weather looks good, but do they have to have a certain amount in order for it to count? At least 3?
Got to have at least 3, yeah.
Okay. All right. Kent, his second prediction here. RTJ on the podium both nights at Smoky Mountain. There's a bunt if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, right. Like Kent rated my cooler the other night at the races, and I gave him a Miller Lite, let him watch the Dream, and then he's going to come up with that. I mean, come on.
He's trying to outdo Bert with the not so bold predictions, and I think he did it. That does a half pointer, so RTJ podium both nights at Smoky Mountain. All right. All right, so Uper, his second one here, Hell Tour Week 1. They will have 31. They will average 31 or more cars over the 5 nights, and Fairbury will have the most cars. So over 31 on average between the 5 nights, with Fairbury having the most of the 5 nights. All right, we got Kenny here with his second one, Rebel Midwest Mod Tour. The Sours, Ron and Travis, will win combined between the two of them 2 of the 3 this weekend. 2 of 3 minimum. They might win 3, but at least 2 of 3 won by either Ron or Travis Sauer. All right, I'm going to go my second one here, and I am going to go. I'm going to go Hibbing Late Model Specials, Hibbing Raceway, Hibbing, Minnesota. So they have the Tom Wasilewski Memorial. That's 11,001 to win. They have a 5,000 to win night from KME. They have the XR Northern Storm night, and then they have 2 nights of the Labor Day Shootout. So 5 late model specials. Rookie Johnny Broking will win at least 1 and podium in at least 2 additional races out of those 5. He'll win at least 1 and at least 2 additional podiums on the 5 late model specials held at the Hibbing Raceway. There's a little Johnny Broking love for him, fanboying just like Bert does for Sorensen. All right, Bert, what's your third and final?
All right, I'm going to go Clash at the Creek, and I am going to say that the highest car count for between this is either or night, but the most number of mods they'll have at least 90.
Wow, have you seen anything from practice?
No, I haven't.
Okay, they only had 34.
Okay,
I'm kidding. I have no idea.
Okay. I don't think they've ever had 90 before, so
their lowest of the 2 nights will be 90 cars. That would be impressive. That would be good. All right, Coach Kraus, your third and final prediction.
We're going Rebel Midwest Mod Tour here. We got I-94 Friday, Viking Speedway Saturday, Buffalo River Speedway on Sunday. Looking forward to it. We got the Rebel Midwest Mod Tour back at Viking. 3 completely different tracks here, Ryan and Bert. It's going to be 9 different drivers on the podium this week in those 3 races. So we're going bold. Like I said, it's different tracks. It's different drivers. We're going bold, Bert, because that's what I do. I was 2 for 3 last week, bold. So I'm going 9 different drivers, Ryan and Bert.
Can I have some of the ganja there, Kraus? Pass some over. I think you're smoking something there, guy. All right. So Kent, his third and final prediction. Coach Kraus will finish the next feature, but not without putting the front bumper to somebody. I got a text message saying, "Did you see him drive over that freaking guy? He kind of punting the one of the Castribas there." He's like, "Yep, he'll finish, but he's gonna put the bumper to somebody." And he's like, "I'm gonna leave this to Coach to interpret this at the end of his next race. So you get to make the call if that happens." All right, Uper, his third and final prediction. Cade Nelson will podium all nights that he races this weekend at the Masters in the USRA late models, winning at least 2 of them. I guess I didn't even notice. USRA late models are they running all 3 nights? They must be, huh? I'm not sure.
They're irrelevant. We know that. I know why they're there.
Cade Nelson, hey, Little Hammer. We're cheering for the Little Hammer. All right, Kenny's third and final prediction. USMTS mods have 4 nights of racing action this weekend. At least 6 different chassis builders will podium over the 4 nights. And a parlay here, there will be a driver that wins 2 or more of the races. So you're going to have 6 different chassis builders for the parity or more, but one driver will win at least 2 of the 4 races. So there's going to be somebody winning a couple. All right. And then my third and final prediction. I am going to go. You know what? I'm going to lay down a little bit of a bunt here myself, and I don't know if they'll run enough shows or whatever to make this happen. One of them, I think, will. Tyler Peterson, Cole Searing will finish first and second in both the late model national points and the Challenge Series points. So Cole Searing, Tyler Peterson will both finish 1-2 in both the WISSOTA national standings and the structural buildings WISSOTA late model Challenge Series points. They're the two top drivers in WISSOTA late models, so rightfully so they should be there. So Bert, you going racing this weekend? What are the plans?
My plan is to go to Shawano Speedway on Saturday.
Coach, anywhere you got Viking Speedway Saturday? Anything else going on?
No, as of right now, no. I'll watch a little race. Got a lot of work to do on cars here this week, so switching stuff over and getting some different stuff going. So spend some time in the shop and probably do my weekly golfing a couple times. Went last Sunday again. I'll probably get out a few days again this week. So got to go out and relax and have some fun when I got some downtime.
100%. And I know I'm going to get up and do the Father's Day thing up in northern Minnesota Friday. Going to be back in Illinois. Looks like Saturday, Sunday. For sure going to hit one of the two races between Fairbury and Sycamore. They got the street stocks there, UMP street stock. The Hell Tour late models are there as a support class. So going to go give the 83 team some little bit of assistance, see if we can find victory lane this weekend. So fans, punch the buttons. Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. And, if you ever have any feedback, questions, whatever it may be, go ahead and hit any one of us up or all of us. And as always, thanks for tuning in for the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Goat Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.